And then share screen. Okay. All right, so I'm here, and of course I have to start all over again. So I'm just going to delete again the first row, and then what is now the second row. That's where we were at. And I'm going to save this as an Excel file. I'll just do it on my desktop for now. And I want to save it as Excel. Okay, save. Okay, so then I'm going to close out of here and open up SPSS. This is the first screen you should see. And then I want to go to my desktop and I want Excel files. And there we go. That's our Excel file. And then it should open up an SPSS file. So then it starts start date, end date, response, et cetera, timing, et cetera. Okay, so we're gonna say okay. And now we can see our data. So this is the first step of our data. Did we lose Carissa? I think we lost Carissa. So let me just check my, oh, here she is. Hey, Carissa.
Sorry, my computer crashed.
No, it's okay. I've been recording it, so you didn't miss much.
Okay.
So this is just telling us some information like the response type, recorded date, the response ID, et cetera, et cetera. But the data we really want is here. So please select 3 for this question. And we see a lot of 4s. So that might reflect either a problem with the survey and how things are scored in the survey and how things were downloaded. So here, I feel that the world treats people fairly. That was one of our items, right? Do you remember what kind of scale it was, Carissa? Like from 1 to what?
Wasn't it 1 to 5, 7?
It was 1 to 7, and we have 34, 39 here. What do you think that means? Did it just like multiply? It's okay if you don't know. I didn't know either when this happened to me when I was an undergrad.
I'm not too sure.
Okay, so, and that's cool. So essentially what happened, and I think this was the original data, is that Qualtrics, whenever we were creating the data, if we would ever delete a question and then enter it back in, instead of having 1 to 7 coded, it would add its own numbers. So let me show you what I mean. So a lot of this is going to be like just basic learning how to clean data because sometimes this happens. And I'm also going to give you guys an assignment to work on your own. Maybe we can talk about it next week. So I'll be playing with the data too. I just wanted to give you some practice. Okay. So what I did last night is I went back and I recoded some of the things. So it seems like individual mobility. So here it doesn't give us numbers, but when you go back to the survey, if you click here, you can say recode values. And before I recoded it, it said 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. So I had to go back and do it for all of them. So now all of this data should be clean. So let me just check. Yeah, all of them are clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-download the data, and I can also send you this once I clean it. I just wanted to show you how things can go haywire really quickly. So I'm going to okay. So if you are in your survey, I'm going through it really quick. What you can do is instead of survey, you go to data and analysis, and then you click export, and you can export the data in all sorts of format. You can do SPSS, Google Drive, etc. We can try SPSS. We're going to download everything. And then it is in our, here, allow. It is here. now. Okay, so we can just directly click here and it will open up. Great, so let's look to see if we still have those 33, 34, 35. No, it looks like everything's like on a scale from 1 to 7. But now we have another problem. So when we look at our data in SPSS, this is giving us information by participant. So each row is one participant. But when we go to variable view, it tells us the name of each variable. So are there any problems with these variable names? Like, do we know what Q64 and Q63 are?
Nope.
We do not. So one of the first things we have to do is to label our variables. So what we do is we are going to transform our variables. So recode into same variables. I don't think it's recode. So give me a sec. Compute variable, it's not. How to rename variables. Give me a sec. So a good thing about SPSS too is that you can Google. So I'm going to Google how to rename variables SPSS. Because I haven't looked at data in like a year, so I'm out of a little bit of practice. And then just to show you, I'm seeing this. So very easily, okay, I'm not going to pay money, but very easily what you can do is just click here so that you can see what the question was like. So we go to label. And we know that America is an open society, et cetera, advancement in American society. We know that these questions are about individual mobility. So there must be an easier way than having to type IM1, IM2, IM3, and IM4, right? We don't want to just go down the whole list and have to label them like that. There are other ways that we can do it. Do you remember how to do it, Carissa?
I don't know if I was actually taught.
Okay, so we will find the solution together. I know that there's syntax, so you don't have to point and click all the time. Syntax. There you go. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. So once you are here, you can click File, New, and we're gonna do syntax. And Carissa, have you used syntax yet?
I have not.
Okay, so syntax is a more, a bit more complex way of doing things, but it also saves you a lot of time because it's sort of like a roadmap of what you've done. So if you ever re-download the data again, you can save the syntax and it'll just rename the variables for you again. So for instance, yeah. So first what I like to do is I like to say cleaning data to for 2021. And then I end that with a period. Did y'all see how I opened that document?
Yes.
So I went to File, New, and then Syntax. Okay, and then it'll pop back up. So I copied something, but essentially what it is you're going to type rename variables. So right here we have Q20. Do y'all remember what those variables are?
Q20. Did he say individual mobility?
No, those were these that I already labeled. So we have whites, European Americans, Black African Americans. It's okay if you don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, so this also happens in data analysis because you're like, oh my God, what was that? So what you do is you would go back to the survey. Taryn, do you have access to the survey?
Yes, I can go back to it.
Okay, so usually what I do is I go back to it, and Q20 looks to be a question about group status. So it's group status whites, group status African Americans, group status Latinx, group status attention check 3, and then group status Asian Americans. So it looks like these questions are about group status. So let's go back to here. So Q20 would be, what do we want to name it? So it should have a short name, no more than like 8 characters.
Could we do GS?
I'm gonna have to count on my fingers.
Yeah, it could be GS white, right? And then let's see. And then we can do GS, where is the pointer? Uh-oh. What happened? I clicked on something and like just renamed everything. That's weird. I've never had that happen before. Okay, so what we can do is just copy from here, whatever that says. We're going to rename it. Oof. That's going to be IM1. I have no idea. Hold on, let me close this data and open it up again. These are all things that happen with SPSS sometimes. I do not want to save my syntax. I would like to open this data again and hopefully it. Oh man.
Today's not the day for SPSS.
No, it is. It'll be okay. So what we can also do is just pretend like the last 10 minutes didn't. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is it. Okay, I was looking at the wrong data set. You can also have multiple data sets open at the same time, and that will be a cluster F. So, all right, we're going to do new syntax. New syntax. All right. Whew. Okay, cleaning data again. 2/4/2021. Okay, rename variables is the command. So we're going to open. So Q20, Carissa, you said you wanted to name it GSW.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one seems like it's about African Americans. So we can do Q63. And then you want to do GSAA?
Yeah.
And then the next one is Q64, Latinx. There's this show I was watching that says instead of Latinx, sorry, I don't even know how to pronounce multiple Latinxes, but he said Latinx, and I think that sounds kind of cool. Anyway, Q64, so we could do GS, L, LX. And then Q94 will be attention check 3. So do y'all see how Q20 corresponds to GSW, Q63 corresponds to GSA, Q64 corresponds to GSLX, and then Q94 corresponds to attention check?
Yeah.
Okay, so watch here. You're gonna see it change. So what I do is I highlight it and then I push play. And then did you see? It changed. You see? So we're gonna go through all of the data and rename it. So that's the first step in analyzing data, which is a headache, but totally doable. And let's see, Q65. So now what we can do is we can just copy this and continue using it. So then we'll delete that. We'll delete that. And then we'll do Q65 equals GS ASA to make sure that we know it's Asian American. Q66 is GSNA. And then we will, cool. Okay, so this scale, what do you remember what this is? I feel that the world treats people fairly.
I can pull it up.
It's belief in a just world.
Hmm.
So we can always just go back and refer to the Qualtrics survey too. So let me pull up the syntax again. So maybe we'll just do a few more and then I'll show you. We also need to label the condition because we don't know what condition people were in yet. So here, what I would just do is this. Then I'll show you a shortcut to. So I'm just going to do. Hold on. I'm copying, and I think this works. Yep. So I just copied everything. And then I'm going to do belief in a just world 1, belief in a just world 2, belief in a just world 3, belief in a just world 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and belief in a just world 5. And then that's how we rename those. Cool. And then we continue going. This is experiences with discrimination. So how often do you experience discrimination due to your race or ethnicity? So we can just label that. There we go. Is everything making sense so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to go faster, slower, the same?
This is good.
Okay. More or less mistakes. Okay, so then we do these. Actually, I'm going to do all of these. Yep. Copy. And then I'm going to paste it over here. And some professors don't use syntax. They like the old school, like point and click.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of really love syntax because it lets me know like, oh my God, what did I do and what did I label? So it lets me go back and be like, oh, on the survey, it's Q72, but I renamed it, whatever I renamed it.
Mm.
So Q67 looks like discrimination race and discrimination SES, and then discrimination Q71 gender, discrimination 5. I'm just going to do attention check 5. What's that? Q96, yeah. And then discrimination sex orientation. And then it will magically rename itself. Woohoo. Okay, so I think that's good enough practice. If I gave you the assignment to rename the rest of the variables, do you feel comfortable doing so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to just do that for now. I'll also help you label the conditions because we're looking at differences between condition, right? So here I'm going to save, actually my desktop. Always save everything. Save everything every 5 minutes because I've had my syntax crash on me and I spent hours on it. So it is tear inducing for sure. So file, save. You can also save your syntax and cleaning data 2.4. Okay, so do you remember what the conditions were for the study? Carissa or Taryn? What is our study about?
Um,
Oh,
oh, no, you can
go.
go. Sorry. No.
You're like, oh no, you got it. Yes.
He's going.
Please go,
Um,
Carissa.
So the conditions were, well, we were manipulating the newspaper articles. So one
Yeah.
was making the majority, the new minority more salient, and the other was just increasing, I forget what the other news article was, but
So one was about increasing geographic mobility and one was about increasing diversity.
okay.
So we want to have that information. So let's see, Q51. So it looks like they have Q51 and Q54. So those determine our conditions. So I don't know which one is which. So what should I do?
You can look at Qualtrics.
Woo! Yes, exactly. So I'm going to go back and look at Qualtrics. It looks like 51 is going to be the geographic mobility. Okay, so now we have to go back. I'm just going to double click here and it'll take me here. So I'm going to insert, okay. No, it cut something. So I'm going to insert a variable here, and I want to call this condition. So I want, it contains an illegal character. I'll probably put a space in, condition. So I want the label to be, or actually the values. I want 0 to be geographic mobility. And I want 1 to be increasing diversity. And we just said Q51 was which?
Q51.
Q51 looks like it was.
Was it geographic mobility?
Yes. Okay, so now we're going to go back. But look, we have all of this data. So this is telling us that whoever clicked on 51 got the geographic mobility. Whoever clicked on 54 had increasing racial diversity. So what I like to do is I sort ascending. Actually, no, sort descending. And there I have all the people who got the geographic mobility. So then I type 0, I do copy. Oh, if I can keep it here, I do copy. Ooh, a little too far. And then I paste. So those are all the people in the geographic mobility condition. Now, all of these people are in the diversity condition. So then I'll do 1 for all of these people. I'm not sure if I push copy, but we'll find out. So paste. Yeah, I did. Cool. So now that we have that information, we don't really need all of this. So what do you think the first click, last click information gives us? What kind of information does that give us?
How
It's
long
okay
they
if you don't
spent?
know.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
How long they spent reading it?
No. So page submit is how long they spent reading it. This is when they started clicking. So remember we put a timer for 1 minute where they had to actually read. So this is just a test of impatience, like 11 seconds, like right away. It also tells us how many times they clicked. So this person clicked 5 times. Let's do descending. Yeah, so 5 seems to be like, oh, I want to go. But that really isn't an indication of anything. It's just interesting to look at. So descending. This person clicked 12 times. Okay, so now we have some information where we could start doing some data analysis. So let me describe the process that we're going to have to go through. That we're going to have to go through in order to be able to analyze the data. So we've already labeled condition. We've labeled a few of the variables. What we're going to have to do next is label all of the variables. Once we label all of the variables, we're going to have to go back and look at how to score the variables. So for instance, some of the belief and adjust world, we can't just add them together and then take the average. We might have to reverse some variables. So that'll be happening next week. But if you guys want like me to record it while I'm doing it and then I can send it to you, I can also do that because I'm anxious and I want to look at whether our analysis worked. But what we can do right now is we can do some individual analyses. These aren't our proposed hypotheses, but just some exploratory analyses to practice on whether condition affected how much people said that they experienced discrimination due to their social class or race. Or we can look at differences in their perceived status of African Americans, Latinos, by condition. Is there any analysis that you would prefer to look at right now? We can do a few.
Any sound good to me.
Okay. Whew, okay, so everything up to now is like my favorite part because it's so exciting and the probability or like the probability that your hypotheses might be supported still exists. But once you start analyzing the data, things get real very quickly. So you find out maybe your data don't support your hypotheses. But okay, all that to say, we're going to do an analysis and my heart might be broken. But okay, so we have 2 different conditions. What kind of analysis will we be running?
Right now or in general?
Yes. Yes. So the kind of data analysis you run typically depends on how many independent variables you have and or how many levels of each independent variable. So in this study, we have 1 independent variable, which is diversity condition, which has 2 levels. So which analysis do you think we'll have to run?
Would we be doing a t-test?
Yes. Yeah. So the way we do a t-test is we go to analyze. We go to compare means. And we're going to do an independent samples t-test. So independent because participants were randomly assigned to one of the 2 conditions. If participants were assigned first to the increasing geographic mobility and then the increasing racial diversity, then we would be doing a dependent samples t-test or paired samples. We're doing this one. And the test variable will be whatever dependent variable we want to look at. So let's see. So these look kind of messy. So what you can do is you can right click and click display variable names. So then we can see whatever it is we name them. So I want to see, so this is general status. Do you want to see status of African Americans, Latinos? Let's just do all of them. I agree, you're right. And the grouping variable will be the condition. If I can find it. Okay, here we go. So then we have to define the groups. And remember, we put 0 and 1 as the groups. Then we're going to put, that's fine. So instead of just running it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste the syntax, which means that it's just going to put it here. What's helpful about this is if you want to run more t-tests, you can just type in the dependent variables. So I could do IM1 instead. So you don't have to point and click all the time. All right, so we are going to analyze the data. And here with this analysis, we are going to explore whether condition affected perceived status of white people, perceived status of African American, and perceived status of Latino Americans or Latinx individuals. So the two conditions again are increasing geographic mobility or the control condition and increasing racial diversity. So let's start off with proposed hypotheses for general status about African Americans. Do you think that perceived social status of African Americans would differ between conditions?
Maybe like in the slightest, if they read that they would end up being the majority in 2042, yeah, I think you would think more highly of yourself, potentially.
Perceive AA as higher in social status relative to control. Okay, that's a hypothesis. What about white people? These are all racial ethnic minorities. So do you think it would matter between the control or the diversity condition?
Maybe not. I also don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
My hypothesis.
Okay, no difference between condition.
Mhm.
And what about Latinos?
I would go with the similar hypothesis for that we have for African Americans.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page before we analyze the data. All right, you guys ready?
Oh gosh.
Okay, I'm gonna push play. Where's the data? Oh, it's running. Here we go. Okay. No significant differences. That is okay. So no significant differences in condition between the different groups. So whites were perceived as 5.8, 5.69, geographic mobility, increasing diversity. Lower status for Black or African American participant or African Americans, and similar lower status for Latinos and Hispanic. And that's okay. Okay. I also have another thing up my sleeve, but I will tell you after we do this one. Okay, so let's look at this individual mobility. No significant difference in geographic mobility and increasing diversity. So America is an open society where individuals of any ethnicity can achieve high status. No significant difference between condition. Okay, so one thing that I did want to mention is that about 45% of our sample identified as Asian or Asian American. So what I was going to do is I was going to analyze the data, including them, and then also excluding them. There's some research to show that because they are perceived to be model minorities, they might not experience like a similar stigmatized status as African Americans and Latinos. So there's arguments for and against including them. I included them in this survey just to see what the results would be like. I can also run the analyses right now, excluding them to see what it would look like if it would change at all. But it could go either way, right? We needed participants, so I included them. So let's see. So the way that we would include or exclude them, I'm not blaming them for our lack of significant results. I know it's probably what it sounds like, but I did ask my friend because I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot that we maybe, it's a toss up. Sometimes people include them, sometimes people don't. There's good rationale for both. So let's see where the ethnicity question is. Okay, Q40. All right, let's see what the coding of that was. And some people are multiracial, and I think that's okay. Some people are part white, that's okay. So demographics. Recode values. So we're gonna say exclude twos. Okay. That's gonna reduce our sample size quite a lot. So analyze data. So in order to only select certain cases, we would go to data, select cases. And we want to select cases if a condition is satisfied. So we're going to go to ethnicity, which I believe is Q40. Yeah, Q40. Q40, I think does not equals 1. We might have to do it like this. So let's see. Let me just make sure that equals, or that little tilde means does not equal. Does not equal. Perfect. So back here. So we do Q40 does not equal 2. Those are the people I identify as Asian. All right, so we're going to continue. I'm going to paste just so that we know that we have that setting. Okay, so we're going to play that. And then we're going to look at the data again to make sure that only the people that selected 2 for race were excluded. So if you see here, why didn't this 2? Oh, because we're not in this right question. So only the people that selected 2 are excluded. Do you see that? Okay, so now we're going to analyze the data again. I'm not sure, I don't think it'll affect the results, but we'll see. It did not. So
Wow.
yeah. So it looks like for at least group status, it doesn't matter whether your participants are Asian or other racial and ethnic minorities, they don't perceive that group status will change as a function of reading about diversity. So what we can do to turn the filter off to also include Asian Americans again is just put filter off and play that. And now we have all our participants back. So the good thing about this is that those weren't our only hypotheses. We can still test for our other hypotheses. Is there any other, or are there any other questions that we included in our survey that might help us figure out if people are paying attention or not?
Other than the attention checks?
So we have attention checks. So we could also filter by attention checks. So if people didn't pass the attention checks, we can exclude them. We also have manipulation checks. So what I can do, or y'all can do as well, is look at the manipulation checks. So look at the article you read about. Which article did you read about? So let's do that really quickly. So this is just to say many things can go wrong in your study. And you need to sort of be aware that that can happen. So, I don't even know where I put it. Q57. Q57. Close. Okay, so we're going to put this variable right next to condition because I want to see where did it go. Condition, insert variable, paste. Okay, and then 1 is geographic mobility. I want that to be 0. Change. I want this to be 1. Change. And 3, I'm just going to do 2. Change. So what this is gonna let me do is I'm just gonna like sort of eyeball it to see whether people got it right. Start sending. And did it have numeric? So we don't see anything here. So that might mean a few things. Maybe the value wasn't entered. Maybe I didn't copy it right. So it looks like it is numeric. They're supposed to enter that. So maybe something happened with me copying it. So I'm going to go scroll down. It was Q57. Oh. Let's see. There is data here. So, data recode. So here's where we could recode into different variable. Or transform, sorry. So we go to transform, recode into different variable. Is all this making sense so far? Or did I lose you somewhere?
It's a lot of information.
It is, yeah. So if you want, we can stop here. But essentially what I want you to know how to do for the assignment that I'll give you for next week, and this is just for you to practice. I'm probably going to do it on my own too, but I do want you to get a handle on the data, doing it on your own, so that when I like start analyzing it, we're all on the same page. I can also just share what I've analyzed with you, but it's helpful for you to also do the data cleaning, so you get practice and you can follow along with me, and to check to make sure that none of us sort of make a mistake. But I'll always have a clean version of the data. So right now, all I want you to do for next week is cross-check all of these that aren't labeled with the survey. And usually on the survey, it says what the scale should be. So the collective self-esteem identity will be Q29 through Q32. So you can just label that CSC for collective self-esteem, CSC ID, because it's identity, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Rosenberg self-esteem. You could label that RSE1, RSE2, beliefs about white people, BAW1, stigma consciousness, SC, and so on and so forth. I will email you my syntax so that you have something to start from. So all you can do is just copy, paste, rename the variables, and then save this on your own drive so we can chat about it next. Once you label the variables, if you want to play with the data and run your own t-tests, you can. But just know that for a lot of these, we do need to compile them, reverse score them, and create averages to be able to analyze. Does that make sense?
Yes. I don't think I have a copy of just like this survey by itself. Like if I have to look at it, I actually have to take the thing.
I can email both of you a Word document of it so you can take a look.
Okay.
Yeah. So email Word document. And if you want to start scoring stuff, if you want to go above and beyond and do that, let me know and I can send you how to score each of the composites, but otherwise we can do that next week. Yeah. So also we might not find anything, and that's part of science. So we will figure out what to do if that should happen. So yeah, so there are a few like limitations to our study that might explain why we don't find anything. One, we collected it online. We paid people $1.20. People that are completing it for $1.20 might be very busy, might have multiple jobs. They might not have enough cognitive resources to attend to this. Maybe if we instead focus on collecting data from college students, we might see a difference. We also need to look at the manipulation checks and attention checks to make sure that people actually pass those. So there are still a few more sort of screening tools that we need to go through in order to ensure that our data is actually high quality. so that we can determine whether it was really a failure of our manipulations or it was a failure of our recruitment techniques. So there could be multiple reasons why this study might, or our hypotheses might not be supported, but we only analyzed one set of dependent variables that we're really interested in. So I do have some hope that some of the data can be salvaged. I also thought it was really interesting that even excluding the Asian participants from our data looked very similar among those who identified as Black, Latino, and other multiracial categories. So that sort of supports the idea that when conducting research on prejudice and discrimination, sometimes it also might be useful to include Asians and Asian Americans in the sample. Cool. All right, you're right. This is a lot of information. You have to know about the scale, you have to know about problems with survey. So yeah, you're basically taking a research methods class in like half an hour.
Yeah.
But I hope it's all coming together. And I recorded it, so I will send it to you once it's done in case you want to look back at the mistakes I made or just to follow through on how to create the scales. But I hope this was fun. I'm always really excited about looking at data. Like last night, it was like 9:30 when I was cleaning some of it. And I was like, I can't just log into the VLM or whatever it's called. Like, I'm not going to do it. So I just stopped, but I've been anxiously waiting for this. So I won't be able to clean and analyze the data until after class. So if I seem a little anxious during class, Taran, you're going to know why. 'Cause I
It's
can't
okay.
wait. Yeah.
I won't be able to come to this class. I have a meeting for my thesis.
Oh
So,
no. Okay.
I
What's your
know.
thesis on?
How social media affects body esteem.
Cool. Who's your advisor for that?
Dr. McMahon.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So
Cool.
fingers crossed. I have to do
awesome.
my own research too, so I'll be doing this whole data analyzing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Whew. All right. Well, do you have any last minute questions, concerns, suggestions? Talk about less things next time? No, we're good?
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we have this data, I'm going to take a look at when the Academic Excellence Showcase is scheduled for, but both of you can present with this. I was also thinking to upload the white survey Friday because I already have almost everything done. I already figured out, this was the hardest part, figuring out how to put this one up, how to pay people. That's what took forever, but now that I know that, the white people survey should be really quick. So if Carissa, you want to take the lead on the minority data, and Taran, you want to take the lead on the white data, then you can present independent work too.
All right.
So that's the great news about this. It might not be significant data, but it'll be some kind of data that you can talk about.
At least it's something.
Yeah. All right. So this was fun. I'll send you all the video. I'll send you all the Word document, and yeah, play with the data. It'll be exciting.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.